Hello, 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 Internet land. Welcome to episode number 49 of the AZ Snakepit Video Roundtable. I'm Clefo. I'm hosting. With me is Joe CB 1991. Soka will be along once he puts his kids to bed or he's done with dinner or something. I don't know. We're also joined by Joe's cat, who probably evaluates players at least equal to, say, certain executives of certain teams. I think that's fair to say. We're pessimists. But we'll get started with the thing we always get started with on this show because it's an easy stock topic. The Diamondbacks in this previous week did not do so well. Basically, essentially lost 3 or 4 to the Astros and lost 2 or 3 to the Dodgers. What is your general overview of the last weeks of games? What stood out to you? What was mostly bad, but what were some bright spots maybe, et cetera, et cetera.
They're pretty disappointing after a good series against Atlanta. You pretty much every time you think they're starting to get things figured out, then another bad streak like this comes. Seems like.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like you can't really say much beyond that because a lot of those games were sort of very 2014 Diamondbacks seeing games where one aspect was of the sort of of pitching and hitting was good, whereas the other would be bad one day, or just couldn't quite get enough to get over the hump, or you tie it up late and then someone you traded away years ago who you didn't think would amount to anything gets a walk off, that kind of thing. Uh, well, that's on Josh Burns' head. So KT, you get off this time. But yeah, I think it's weird. It's easy to say, oh look, they lost 3 or 4 of the Astros. Ha ha, let's laugh at them. But the Astros are playing better this year. Uh, so
Their
it's
prospects look really good.
yes. I mean, their hitters are definitely coming along, especially like Singleton and Springer and those guys. So blowing up everything might work. Who knew? Uh,
Takes a while, but it might wind up good.
yeah, I mean they're sort of like, oh, maybe the Diamondbacks should do this, maybe on a lesser scale, but because
Yeah,
unlike the sorry.
yeah, we have a few really good young cheap pitchers that are already up here, so don't need to go as fast as they did, but
Yeah, it's more like the Diamondbacks have more that one could build around than the Astros did, say around 2011, 2012. But but it feels like maybe come to that later. But we'll might get into that later. But the other sort of big news that happened today hasn't been quite official yet, but Bronson Arroyo pitched a fairly decent game today, but he only lasted 5 innings and 79 pitches, which for him going only allowing 1 run on a weak ground out at that was kind of concerning. And then those concerns were sort of validated when multiple sources said, "Oh, he's probably going to skip a start or need a DL stint," even though he's been famous for being very durable throughout his career. But he getting old. Uh, how does that make you feel?
well, you said you had the arm problems before, so I was saying, don't pitch through it, don't make it worse, just go on the DL and don't let pride get in the way of taking something that could be minor and making it into a year-long absence, I thought.
Yeah, that's the thing. If he's hurting and he had been pitching well, which is weird, but at the same time, you kind of have to think kind of long term with even with like a veteran like him. He's here for at least another season, and so even though this season might be a wash, you kind of would like him to still be healthy through it, and maybe pitch better in 2015, where turn a new leaf, maybe things are different.
And it's not really worth trying to pitch through that when you're 12 games under. It's not like we're fighting for a playoff spot and we need him to go out there every fifth day.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's so weird that this issue came up like how long ago? Like a fair like at least a few weeks to a month ago that these things started to crop up, right? Am I?
The Mets game, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So that was yeah like at least 2 weeks ago. So for that to happen, then it's like he still has two more starts after that. It's like okay.
And then after the Houston game, you were saying, "Oh, my elbow feels so awful right now," but I got to give this team 200 innings, 20 quality starts.
Well said. Yeah. So thanks, Bronson, for that. But in the spare time, he can put out another cover CD. I think with bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers or New School U2 or stuff like that. I think he'd be really good at that. We're joined by Mr. Soko right now, who just entered the Heezy, as the kids say. Uh, we were just talking about Bronson Arroyo being kind of a dummy and pitching through a lot of pain. Does that make you feel angry, sad, something incongruous to those?
I definitely think it makes me feel sad. I think that, I mean, okay, coming from two different perspectives, it makes me feel sad. Coming from a fan's perspective, it makes me feel sad that he's pushing through and possibly injuring himself to a point that he will be unable to play. Thus, we have injured a player and have a useless player. But then coming from a pathetic mom point of view, all I can think to myself is playing through injury, you're hurting yourself, and you're just doing this to yourself over and over again is not good for you. It's hurting you, and that's not nice, and I don't want to see people in pain.
I think that's a very fair point. There is a sort of stubborn. I think there was a sort of stubborn pride because he hadn't actually missed a start throughout his rather lengthy major league career and his minor league career too. So it is, as Joe said, kind of just sort of dumb pride, which it's a. I'm not saying I'm a overly religious person, but that's one of the deadly sins for a reason. It's just you gotta be like, you know what, I can't do this. Let's slow it down. But too little, too late.
We've seen so many pitching injuries this year that you would think that everyone would realize, hey, might not be a good thing to pitch when my elbow feels really bad.
Yeah, the same. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Okay. The same thing happened, I mean, with one of the more famous Tommy John cases with Jose Fernandez. He was quoted, I'm going to look this up now, but I think it was quoted as like, oh, my elbow felt like uh, crap for a while, but I want to pitch through and help my team. But the thing is, you have to think, you have to consider how much is it really helping your team when if you're pitching through pain and presumably pitching less effectively, it's you might just be doing more harm to to your team than
Well,
helping it.
as my mom always said, if you play sick or if you go to work sick, you're going to be sicker longer. So would you rather work for 2 weeks at 50% or take a 3-day break and then come back and work at 100%?
Don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Mm.
As Ross. So the quote from Fernandez is, I know health and all that stuff comes first for some people, but for me, my team comes first. That's who I am. I wish I could change it. Hopefully I'm going to learn from it, but I'm still happy with the way I made the decision. Which is like, okay, dude.
Imagine if the
That's
Marlins
cool.
playoffs because of that.
Yeah.
They're
And the
actually
Marlins
good
are,
this year.
yeah. The the fire sales of the Blue Jays wasn't popular at the time, but it seems to actually worked out for both teams. This year, anyway. So I think with Arroyo presumably going down, again with all the quotes that came out, I'd be so surprised if it didn't happen. Uh, who do you think the Diamondbacks will? And considering personnel moves, this is going to be a different question. Who should they bring up? So will and should as to who they bring up or use to replace Arroyo is the question on the table.
Not really any great options out there. Brewer, Bolsinger, and Bo. Those are the three main ones I can think of, and Sproul. So that's four, but neither one of them really fills me with confidence if they have to get called up and start multiple games.
Was Bolsinger the guy who came up a couple weeks ago where they had the video of him being, like, at dinner being called up? Anyone remember this besides me? There's a good chance I'm going crazy.
It's possible.
It was a very cute video, so I'll root for him.
Yeah, I think Bolsinger might be the. I don't know how they want to line it up at the off days and stuff. But Bolsinger might be, not a terrible choice. He's pitched here before, not well, but again, at this point, you're not going to get someone who's going to light the world on fire. Obviously, it's a tourniquet. It's not, actually stop. It's just to stop the bleeding a little bit rather than to actually affect any meaningful change. I could be wrong. For now.
500.
But yeah, it seems like it's going to be one of Bolsinger, Sproul, or Brewer. I'm guessing probably Bolsinger, but I don't know. And there's not really anyone they like that. But then again, they might, I don't know, take a swing, baseball term, at someone random and obscure, like they did with David Peralta, who, for the most part, hasn't been bad for the Diamondbacks at his time up. He's not the greatest fielder, but he's been fine.
I'm feeling very confused by most of the players right now. Probably because I'm only halfway watching because I have a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like every time we're watching, I look up and I'm like, who's that guy? He's wearing our uniform, so I know he plays for us. And he would be in Sentier? Nope, not him. Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. NCR is actually on the DL because he got he got knocked in the head in Houston. So he's on the 7-day concussion DL. Looking at it right now on my phone. And he was basically replaced by the Italian Andrew Inciarte. So, it's just been a sort of revolving door of randomness, which I think comes with the territory where you're dealing with a not so great team because there are various random 2009/10 Diamondbacks who I can kind of remember sort of passing through like shifts in the night, like anyone remember like Bob Howery? I sure don't. Blaine Boyer. This is just off the top of my head, but random relief pitchers like that. So you're gonna get that, and with guys like Inciarte or Peralta or whomever, you can just throw them against the wall and see if they stick. That kind of thing.
We do have the chance of calling some random dude because we're desperate and finding next Paul Goldschmidt for our team. Like, it's just hopeful. We have to be hopeful for this. And here comes Soko.
Yeah, and this
with Drake Lamb.
Yeah. Haha, thanks, he's got Goofy.
Scarlet.
So Goofy, what do you think about Bronson Arroyo's injury?
I don't know. It happened. I mean, that's turning into an even better signing. because he's been both not very good and now not very durable. And I thought that was at least half the reason why we got him, was that he supposedly was durable.
Yeah, but he old. He doesn't seem like it because again, his hairstyle and love of mediocre to okay 90s rock. But yeah.
In his 30s.
Anyway, I think yeah, the team is just in this sort of malaise, and I think you just keep watching because
Malaysia?
malaise.
That's not fair. They have to do 2 overseas series.
Malaysia. No, they send them to I don't know, Myanmar or some other kind of not great human rights sort of place, and play against I don't know the reunited 2004 Expos or something, and because that's how it rolls for the Diamondbacks. Anyway, I'll just keep going through to questions in the thread, and questions I allocated from random people on Facebook because that's how I roll. So we'll go into the thread. Paul Goldschmidt, as of today, is first in All-Star voting at first base, given the fact that he is clearly the best first baseman in the National League. I don't think that's really a homer thing to say. I think there are good and randy and objective ways to analyze that. But this is from TX Zona. Do you think he keeps the vote and starts?
I think that, like most things, it is a popularity contest rather than a quality contest. I would hope that he stayed because he really is a great player, but I definitely don't think that the Phoenix fans have enough support in any regards right now because we're so frustrated that it'll be very difficult for him to keep it. Anyone else's turn?
Yeah.
With how fast he jumped up in the voting, I think that he can stay up there.
Yeah, that's true. He started fifth when the first ballots came out. Then, again, it kind of helps that he is objectively very good.
It also helps that he's very good looking.
EP.
Well, the previous number 1 was Adrian Gonzalez, who hasn't really had a great year. So if he was having a great year, I'm sure Dodgers fans would be out in force voting for him. But they may not have a whole lot of inclination to do it right now, which means Goldschmidt to consolidate other votes. Especially if they not even have a first baseman at all. Sure, there's always going to be homer voters, but there may be people that are like, well, we don't have a good first baseman, so I guess we're going to go with him.
It's all like Giants or Brewers fans being like, we really want home field advantage, so.
And the Rockies.
Or if you're an AL fan, obviously your horses are all going to be in the AL, so what do you give a shit which NL first baseman is going to start? So you're probably just going to look at numbers, even if it's just top line stuff, and say, wow, Paul Goldschmidt has an average of 9,000. Go with that.
What? 9,000? Memes.
Over 9,000? Oh, internet.
But yeah, I think he has a good chance just because the National League first base crop this year and to a point last year is kind of weak because the only 2 ones I can really think are worth any of their salt this season would be Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman of Atlanta. I mean, I'd put Joey Votto in there, but he's been injured a lot of the year, so.
Plus he's Canadian.
Yeah.
And then with Votto and Adrian, they've both fallen off a bit the last month too. They started off pretty good. Since then, they've like what they were talking about on the broadcast, he's been hitting under 200 for the last month, I think.
That's kind of not good, I would say. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think just overall, Goldie's got a good chance. And even if he doesn't win the vote, I would think he'd be the only Diamondback All-Star this season. Because nobody else.
We were
Pollock was playing good enough, but the Giants got all their outfielders in the top votes, so they never let anyone else get in.
We were talking about that this weekend, whether there could be potentially anybody else, and maybe Pollock would have had a chance as an injury replacement or something if he hadn't gotten injured. Maybe Chris Owings has an injury replacement, but after that, I really don't see anyone else. Obviously, none of the pitchers. You can just throw them all out right now.
Done.
No, really, seriously,
Yeah.
just throw them all out.
Yeah.
Literally put them on a freighter, dump them into the Pacific Ocean where that trash vortex is.
Yep. But then after that, you run through the position players. Miggy's had a good year, but not necessarily great, not all-star. Aaron Hill hasn't necessarily had an all-star year. Otto certainly hasn't. He's just been okay. The outfield's been kind of all over the place just simply because there's been injuries. Barr has been there, but not an all-star season.
The entire left field's been a tire fire instead of a separate dumpster fire.
Yeah. And then there's Cody Ross.
Which is his own...
He's his own category.
Yeah, I was... Well said, Ding. No, yeah, Cody Ross, yesterday and today had... well, yesterday I was... Oh, was it yes? Or Friday and today. I lose track of things. Yeah, basically, like on Friday night, we had just opened the show at my work, and we were at a bar, and like my boss, I still work for him, but he's a Dodgers fan, which is interesting. But yeah, they had that game on, and like it was a ninth inning, and like, oh, Aaron Hill comes with a hit, and he was like, oh my God, we're gonna blow this, and I'm like, no, you're not. That's Cody Ross. He's terrible. It's like I do this as a side somewhat for a living. I know my stinks. And then today he gets a weak pop up that falls in the barely in fair territory, and he decides to stretch it to a double on Puig, who, you know, for all his weirdness, he has a really strong arm in the outfield, and Cody Ross is slower than two old people watching Matlock than going to the grocery store. So he got thrown out.
You have no hip, don't run.
Yeah. It's like this area here, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I think.
Go on, sorry.
I think he was just so excited that he got a hit that he just was like, I want to keep going. I want to keep going.
And he just couldn't hide it.
Yeah.
Was he about to lose control?
He's running for cookies. I think that's the mode he was in. He was just so excited.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I'd say Pollock would have had a good chance if he was healthy. Owings might have had a decent chance if he played more. But since Chad Pennington got injured, for some reason Gibby has decided to platoon Gregorius and Owings. And it's like, okay, I kind of get that, because if you want Gregorius to be a part of your team, you need to get him starts. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you have this guy who's obviously, you know, in whatever game plan you have, he's obviously working for the most part. You know, don't you want to get him like more at bats and stuff? I mean, I'm not Kirk Gibson, but I could play him on TV. But I don't know.
Trying to understand it if Blues is a whole.
Yeah, it's kind of the short-term, long-term sort of thinking that you have to that we kind of talked about with Arroyo's injury. It's like, sure, in the short term you can do this, but you have to think about long term, especially this season, because nothing good's going to happen this year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And we still got next year.
2015. That's our year to maybe finish third and barely under 500, depending on how the Rockies and Padres do.
You next year.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen anything that'll make me feel better. I don't see Kevin Towers giving me free ice cream.
Yeah, no, I would be shocked if they even made it to 500 next year.
Yeah.
Unless they make some significant overhauls.
Mm-hmm.
At what point should we talk fire sale?
I don't know, probably like first week of April.
For this year?
I don't know. This problem is that I don't want them to ship out guys that are actually good, like Goldschmidt, especially since he's cost controlled for so long.
Well, I don't think they'll ever sell Goldschmidt, but
then the talent after that drops off considerably. Where I'd love them to dump people like Cody Ross, or Boston Arroyo, or Brandon McCarthy, or Trevor Cahill, or and so on and so forth. We could name probably virtually every member of the team. I would be happy dumping most of them, but it's not really a fire sale at that point. It's just pretty much like giving them away at the side of the road.
Yeah, I think
we're giving them all the fat from the contracts.
And I know that it's not possible because he's injured, but I do want to take a moment and step in and say if we get rid of Patrick Corbin, I will burn Chase down.
Yeah, I think he's safe.
You now made yourself just like by accident.
Okay,
Figuratively.
I will figuratively burn Chase down and then make all the cookies for Patrick Corbin. And yes.
But none for Kevin Towers.
No for Kevin Towers. I make good cookies.
And none for Kevin Towers. Bye. No, I was going to say, I'm just thinking about who we've got, just going position by position. I don't think you don't get rid of Miguel Montero because he's under contract for a while, and the catching, not only on the major league team, but in the minor league system, drops off so fast after him. And this was true even when he was having his terrible season last year, so you hold on to him. Goldschmidt, no, never. Aaron Hill would be interesting. He could possibly fetch something, especially to like maybe a contending team that maybe wants like more power from the second base slot. So he's a possibility.
He's the most likely one, I think, just so you can play Didi and Owings together every day.
Yeah, and you could shut
Owings. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so you could get some value there. I don't think you're going to get like I'm trying to think of a contending team that has like a really good prospect for. You're not going to get someone like that, but you'll get a warm body. You can stick in the minors, and might do something in the future and more in the long term. You know what I mean? Shortstop, Didi or Owings, keep them for a bit. Third base, Prado. You'd maybe like to be able to unload him, but
he probably has the most value right now.
That's true, yeah. But he still has about two more seasons after this one on his contract. So I guess that's not terrible if someone needed a long-term solution at third or second base. But again, I can't really think of a team that maybe like an interesting team for Prado might be. I'm actually watching because they're on the ESPN game right now, which I have on mute. Maybe the Angels, because they have David Freese, who's a tire fire at third base, and Prado, for all his faults this year, has sort of been picking it up lately and does have utility. So he might be an interesting thing, but we probably have to, knowing our last trade with the Angels, we send Martin Prado there, then also give up Archie Bradley and somehow the Pope. It's that sort of thing. Outfield is a mess. You'd love to unload Cody Ross somewhere, but at some point he just might be.
Anyone dumb enough to take him right now?
Ruben Amaro Jr., but maybe that's
The
it.
only one dumb enough to take Cody Ross right now is Kevin Towers.
Yeah. He might be a sort of Cahill situation where you might just have to eat that nom nom nom, because at this point it's just like he's not doing anything for you. He's probably blocking at bats for name any outfielder who could be more productive and be a better long-term solution. So
Tony Campana.
Yeah, Tony Campana at least can run fast. I mean, he's got more of a utility than Ross does.
I can probably hit a ball farther than Campana can, and I haven't swung a bat in a baseball game since middle school.
To be fair, that's probably a lot closer for you than it is for me.
I was good at kickball, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you played vintage for a while, or a year or so ago, so you got that going for you. And
That's true.
And you got
power.
My only athletic achievement is a home run in kickball.
I once was like 5 feet away from hitting a home run on a t-ball field, so got that going for me. Yeah, it's just Cody Ross is. I don't know.
Careful. He might send you a meanly worded tweet.
Bring it. I'll send him back, I don't know, a bad pun about a soccer team or something, because that's how I roll on Twitter nowadays. Yeah, I mean, Pollock can keep long term. Para's interesting. I don't know. I think you just, unless someone blows you away, you hold on to him, because again, he's there. He's still in arbitration. You don't really have any better options. But also,
Parra might be good though, because he may be at or just beyond his peak value.
That's true. Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's going to improve much as a hitter.
Yeah. Like, there's not necessarily any more improvement after this. It's just he's either going to continue on for a little while where he's currently at, or he's going to start declining.
That's true. Roger Parra is maybe the most known quantity on this team, apart from like Goldschmidt. Like, you kind of know what you're getting from him. But yeah, so yeah, he'd be intriguing. I mean, I personally, if I were GM, which I'm not, which may be a good idea, but then again, who do they employ now? I would keep him unless you'd listen to offers, but you wouldn't try to like unload him just because. Which
I wouldn't be looking to unload him, but looking for a trade partner.
Yeah. And not unloading people just because, that might be a good idea. I'm just saying.
Kevin Towers might want to try that.
If I could make any moves, I would probably just do Hill and Prado, because I think they're both starting to decline a little bit as a hitter, and they still have value right now. So I would just try and take advantage of that before they start to decline more. And then, you can play Didi, you can play Lamb, see what they do. They get a lot more upside and cheaper contracts there.
And as TXZone again in the comments points out, we also, in addition to Edie and Owings, we also have Nick Ahmed maybe knocking at the door either later this season or next year as a shortstop prospect. So, you still have a weird logjam, but Pennington's contract being over this season, maybe, I think. I didn't make that up. Next or soon. And then if you were to unload Hill, you might clear that up a little bit, but, I mean, you still have a sizable potential logjam, but just, relieving that a little bit would not be the worst idea.
And then we'll trade for another shortstop.
I actually think, there's 3 decent options who could So if one of them hits, cool. Let's see. But yeah, trades. Yeah, I also think if you just to sort of wrap that up at a final time, if you trade away Hill and Prado, you also have this team is also the most expensive team in Diamondbacks history. You can use some of that money to, maybe pick up a better left fielder or maybe a more decent than what you've been usually getting starter for next season. Maybe on short contracts. See if maybe treat next year as a rebuilding year, but maybe see if you can maybe get one or two guys that can maybe do well, but if they don't, you can also just unload them at the deadline for more stuff.
Is Torrey Hunter going to be available as a free agent next offseason? Because we might want to offer him a 3 or 4 year deal.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I also think Derek Jeter, he says he's retiring, but, get enough of that green.
Mm-hmm.
You
We
want
already have the other Jeter, now we can just get the old Jeter together, too.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? We could just Dan Ugla, we could get him. He's probably going to be good. I know. The last two suggestions were entirely facetious. Because, yeah. Here's another person, because we haven't thought about him in a while because he hasn't played. Mark Trumbo. There's probably an American League team out there who could use him more than we could. Maybe.
Get a DH in here, and I'd love to have him, but not much use without that.
Let's move on. I guess we've actually talked a lot about Diamondbacks, and that makes me nervous. Let's move on to some of these weird questions I got on Facebook. I'll try to get at least one per person who asked the question.
I got a story to mention later when we're done with this.
Yeah. I mean, we could go 15 minutes. I don't care. It's free-form, man. This is from Kishi. What Pixar movie would you recommend the Diamondbacks watch? Pixar, listen.
Up.
Yeah, Up's pretty good.
I was hiding under your porch because I love you. Maybe A Bug's Life. I think that's Pixar.
I think, yeah.
It is.
Because it's about a group of people who don't actually know what they're doing, coming together and figuring it out and doing something with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bug's Life. Maybe Cars 2 because that's terrible and the team's terrible and they should think about that.
If Pixar made planes, that would also apply.
Yeah, that's true. Let's just keep going free fire. Like I said, I'll get through one question per person at least because there's a lot of people. Here's one from me. Is Brian Wilson, the reliever for the Dodgers, formerly of the Giants, is Brian Wilson the Zodiac Killer? I say yes.
No, but I don't think he was alive then.
I don't think he'd keep his own mouth shut long enough to say that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Ooh, good point. So I think he's probably guilty of some other atrocity, but maybe not that particular one.
Those Taco Bell commercials.
His beard.
Here's the thing that always bothered me about the Taco Bell commercials he did. That was the one where he's they're doing that sort of meta thing where it's let's talk about what we're going to do in this commercial. And then he says, and then I'm going to be Black Ops and stuff, man. Here's the thing. A person with that kind of beard and who talks about Black Ops all the time, 99.9% of the time is going to be deservedly put on a federal watch list. Because...
Well, it depends on what their assignment is, though, because a lot of the Delta Force and Special Forces guys have beards.
Right.
Big beards, too, not just little goatee. But...
Here's one from Soko. I try to think which of the ones is more appropriate for
probably
this.
Not the last ones, which eliminates all of them.
Okay, here's one. Will I show up on time? Which,
Nope.
nope. The other
got-
two questions. The other two
That's
questions
what
you asked.
is coming.
The other two questions you asked are interesting, but I feel it's a rabbit hole I do not want to go down right now. Here's one from my friend Paul, technically his brother. What happened to Jim Abbott? I don't know, but oh, I'm going to hell for saying this joke. I don't know what happened to Jim Abbott, but you got to give that guy a hand.
Who's Jim Abbott?
He was a pitcher for the Angels, Yankees, who famously only had one hand.
He was born only with one hand. It wasn't an accident or anything. It just
Yeah.
It wasn't like the drummer from Def Leppard.
right where he got into a car accident because he was fueled by alcohol and heroin.
Mm.
But he was actually, if we're going 90s nostalgia all up in here, he wasn't.
80s. Good early. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about Jim Abbott, so
Okay.
that's like late 80s, 90s nostalgia. He was actually not like Hall of Fame or even multi-time All-Star worthy. He was actually fairly good. And yeah. And he would sort of like rest his glove on his hand out.
What he would do was kind of cool was he would put his glove under his armpit, and then when he would pitch, in one motion he would essentially throw the ball and then put his hand in the glove. That way he'd be ready to field it if he had to.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Very good, man.
Okay.
And we'll get one more question, then we'll go to Joe's story.
Wait, I have an answer.
Go for it.
What have you been up to?
Yes. Jim lives. Let me make sure this is the correct one, because that would be awkward if I was just. Oh, yeah, okay. Jim lives in California with his wife, 2 children, and their dog. His parents still live in Michigan. Jim and his family take a summer off each year to stay at the lake and visit with family and friends. He
Hanging out.
also goes around and gives motivational speeches.
Well, let's give him a hand. What?
So he's just hanging out with his family.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's having himself a good time.
Okay, one last question, then we'll get to Joe's story that he teased. Who we wanted to fight, Nolan Ryan or Randy Johnson?
Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning.
I mean, Johnson probably has the reach, but I feel like Nolan Ryan has the
Power.
anger.
Yeah.
And RJ has a high center of gravity, so you could probably get a lot of body blows on him.
Yeah, and we don't have really any indication or beyond him throwing inside at John Kruk at an All-Star game. We don't really have any indication of him trying to whip ass on somebody, where we do have an indication of him just wailing on Robert Ventura, who maybe isn't the toughest guy in the world, but still.
Plus, Randy Johnson's like a beanpole.
Yeah. And I think Nolan Ryan is fueled by, like, tobacco spit, whiskey, and hate.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. So, Joe, you said, well, like 5 days ago, you had a story for us?
Yeah,
about
just
something?
a quick weird thing. Did you guys see that story about the person that stole Miley's car in California
Yes.
like 2 weeks ago? The girl that did that went to my high school.
Holy cripes on toast.
Yeah, I got the link to it. Right here, you can see it, the girl in the white shirt.
Oh, wow.
Love life.
Naomi Charles.
Huh.
I'm gonna post the link to that in the comments, where it shows her picture in there too. Something weird. When I found it, me and a bunch of other people from my school just started laughing about it, even though I never met her since I was 2 grades higher, I think.
Was there a most likely to mug a celebrity like thing they had in your like senior yearbook? Because
I think she should have been a shoe-in.
yeah. But you know, hindsight.
I think she would have been a strong bet to steal that one away.
Yeah.
All of our superlatives had already come true. It was very lame. Like, it wasn't, like...
Person most likely to graduate at the top of the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Tyson got person most likely to join the ROTC.
Was this
joining the ROTC?
Was he like planning on joining the RTC like middle of the last semester? That it's like, oh, we're going to say this in the yearbook.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was very lame.
Mm-hmm.
I got most likely to major in theater, which I did.
At least I remembered you.
Yeah. Hey, high five for majoring in theater.
I got $100.
Thanks. What you spent on?
Books.
I was the one that played a DS under the tree by myself.
I was most likely to post weird articles on a team-specific sports blog for a network of websites that does not quite exist yet.
Did you go to Liz's high school? Because that seemed really oddly specific.
It was very esoteric at the time, but hey, it came true.
Well, he's from Tucson, so he would go to Saguaro, not Saguaro.
I don't think he went to Saguaro. Did you go to Saguaro? You didn't go to Saguaro.
No, I went to small school that doesn't exist anymore. That was a magnet school.
You can say basically anything you want, and I'll be like, oh, I've never heard of that, but okay.
I went to Bovine High School.
And to where?
That wasn't the actual name. I went to a place called Houndstein High School in South Tucson, which
nope.
My graduating class was like 30 people. So
wow.
That was like the size of my English class.
Yeah. So I often say, hey, I graduated 4th of my class, which sounds less impressive when you say the remainder of that. But anyway, high school memories aside, I think we're going to wrap up this week. We've been going a bit. So I want to thank Joe, the Sokos, and, me, of course. So thank you for watching. Go to azsnakepit.com all the time.
Baby. It's a baby on me.
It's a circle of love.
Anyway, thanks to those guys. Visit azsnakepit.com. Follow it on Twitter. Like it on Facebook. You can watch this episode as a rerun later, or any other episodes. Just click the Snakepit video section that's on top of here, or go to the YouTube page, which is linked to every episode. I have nothing more, so good night.
Good night.